Hello, everyone. We're a little bit early here, starting with our stream, but I just want to say hi to everyone. Lovely to see you. Okay, there we go. Right. Okay, it's a little early, but don't worry. Um, we are going to be, oops, I have it open here twice. Just making sure all the bits and bobs are ready. Okay. All right, we're going to get going officially in about 1 minute. But in the meantime, hello, hello, hello to everyone joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Banfields directly, as well as on what should I say? Yeah, Banfield's YouTube, Banfield's Facebook, as well as OET. So when you are joining in, feel free to not just say hi, but tell us where you are joining from. And please excuse me if I am looking two different places. It's because I'm talking into one screen, but checking your comments in another. So far we've got quite a few people joining us from Ibrahim, who seemed to have been the first one here this morning. Welcome, Ibrahim. We have Dr. Masarat. We have Kaniz. Good morning. We have Dr. Akim. Lumbamba, good morning to you too. We have got Kwasi from Ghana. Welcome, welcome. Jemima, Farana. Let's see what countries we've got here today as well. We've got Mwaka from Zambia. Welcome. Ayung is from Myanmar. We've got from India. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Saudi Arabia, Alma. Welcome, Alma. That's Spanish for soul. So I hope you're beautiful soul as well. Ninu from Kerala. Welcome. And Teresita, who is in Saudi Arabia. Okay. Teresita Delgado, well, you may be far from home or you may be from the Philippines, not sure. Oh, Dr. Hakim, you're from Cape Town. Welcome. Right. Okay. So we're a minute in. I can still keep saying hi to a few people. Haha. We have Nepal. Yeah. Pooja, welcome, welcome. I hope all is well with you in Nepal. And Dr. Murasat is from Pakistan. I hope all of you guys out there are well. Thank you for joining in. And today we are going to be discussing the topic of, well, generally listening and specifically identifying opinion and attitude. So how we usually do this is we usually do a brief presentation first, walking you through the important issues to be aware of, to know about, and then I kind of open the floor to everyone to ask questions that you have on your mind. I will pick first the topics to do with listening, but after a while, honestly, you can ask me anything. Okay. And we've got more people pouring in. We have got Namita from India. Welcome. We have Margaret from New Zealand. Welcome. Jagadam from India. Wonderful. Oh, we've got another person from Pakistan, Ahmed. Mushtaq from Pakistan. Now, I'm sorry if I'm saying names incorrectly, but I'm trying. So, ha. Okay. All right, guys. So, first of all, let me start by introducing myself. I am Alicia Banfield. And oops, I even spelled my name incorrectly. Hurrah. I am Alicia Banfield from BPME. or Banfield's Professional Medical English. We are a premium preparation provider with the occupational English test. And what that means is that we have been trained directly by OET to the highest standards of Cambridge University to understand this test, to understand the skills that are being tested, and to guide our candidates through the ups and downs and all the layout and pitfalls of the test and get you to the other side where you are getting your passing mark and going on to your future that you planned. Our goal, honestly, is to get you out into and out of our courses as quickly as possible. For us, the best candidates are the ones who come, they learn as thoroughly as they should. They do the exam, they get through either the first or the second time, very least the third time, and then they're off to their futures. And we're all about your future, okay? We're not just about keeping you with us. So, hello, Mercy from the UK. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, if another thing you may notice is that there may be some weird pauses in when I speak, when I'm looking at the screen. There's nothing wrong. However, there is a delay in the feed sometimes. So I just wait for the feed to catch up. Okay. So there's nothing wrong. Stick with us, and hopefully, we're going to have a great session. And as usual, continue to put your questions in at the end of the presentation. I will go back and I will answer as many as I can. All right. Good. So that's the 5-minute warm up. Let's now get into today's topic, which is about the listening test and specifically attitude and opinion. So give me 1 second to just pull it up. I know you're seeing all kinds of, oh, not yet. You're not seeing anything yet, actually. Okay, hold on. I have to screen share first. Okay. I know I'm hopeless at tech. I really, really am. It's actually a joke with us how useless I am at tech, but never mind. Okay. So for now you're seeing my little bird, but now I am going to share with you the presentation. And if anybody from admin is watching, could you make a note to get me how to do this properly? Okay. All right. So as we said, today we're looking at identifying opinion and attitude. And I notice, and please notice I put the word there correctly because that is important. Okay. Um, right. I'm hoping, can everyone hear me well? Yeah? If you can hear me well, just put a thumbs up or what's not in the feed. I can hear myself well, but I'm never completely sure. Yeah. Okay. No one's hearing me. Said nope, not yet. Okay. Yes. Okay, great. You see the delay in the feed. It takes a while to catch up. Okay, great. Okay. So let's just jump right in to correctly identifying opinion and attitude. Just to let you know before we go in, there is a ebook that we have produced called the OET Listening Coach. It is very compact. I think it's about 22 pages. It is very thorough. It touches on all the important issues to bear in mind when you're doing the listening, and it's incredibly easy to read. You can watch this video again and scan the QR code, or you can find it here. And it contains examples from listening A, B, and C. It contains sample exercises. You can see the transcript. You can actually play the audio, and it walks you through these samples and demonstrates what we call pitfalls and opportunities in doing the test. Okay, so just keep it in the back of your mind. If you want to just try out, you can use that. And yes, it is extremely affordable. Okay, so but let's get into the main body of today. So the listening part C, which challenges people no end, it consists of two longer audios. Each one is about 5 to 8 minutes each. And unlike listening part A, which is a clinical interview, the listening part C is usually a non-clinical situation or a continuing education situation, a lecture or an interview. And for each of these audios, you're going to have 90 seconds at the beginning of each audio to read the questions before the audio starts. And you have to answer the questions while you're listening. Each text has 6 questions, and each question has 3 multiple choice options, A, B, or C. And again, unlike the listening, you are not being asked for an exact detail. What you are being asked for is to understand functions of language, understand broader meaning. And what this means is that it's a little bit more than just listening for individual words. You have got to understand the language. Okay. And sometimes even read between the lines, honestly. Another thing that gives people a bit of anxiety in the listening part A is that, oh, I am not familiar with this topic. It could be about midwifery. It could be about psychiatry, and people get nervous. Don't, because the topics come from any profession, but you do not need personal experience of the topic that comes. Remember, you do not need personal experience, so don't panic. But what kind of skills then do you need in the listening C? Skills and techniques. First of all, you've got to be able to keep up with the audio, because remember, as I said, that you have got to be answering questions as you're listening. So you've got to be able to listen, hear the answer, tune out quickly, put in your answer, and then tune back in without getting all flustered and wondering where on earth we are in the audio. You have to recognize restated information because, again, what you're being asked is not a literal word. It's not an exact word. It's a bigger meaning. So you have got to have a wide vocabulary as well as understanding grammar and idioms. Now, grammar can be very touchy because there are many languages, especially Eastern languages, where grammar does not play as big a role. It's more about the vocabulary. In English, grammar is very important because it doesn't just tell us what a nice sentence sounds like. It tells us things like when or how. It can even imply what questions you ask next. Okay? Grammar has a lot of hidden meaning in it. And you can change a grammar. In grammar, you can change, for example, one preposition, to, from, with, and it actually changes the whole meaning of the sentence. Okay? So for those of you who is like, oh, I don't like grammar, please, this is one case where you do have to put in the time and understand English grammar. Efficient reading. You don't have a lot of time. You have got 90 seconds at the beginning of the audio to read through the questions. So you've got to be very efficient, and you've also, again, got to understand the exact meaning of the options. So paying attention to the details. Mind the details. Let me repeat that. Mind the details. Recognizing signal words, which helps you with keeping up with the audio. And remember, I said it's broader language you're trying to understand, which is like gist, broader meaning, inference, and all those other functions. But today we are focusing on opinion and attitude. And again, don't panic if you don't have personal experience. Why? Because OET is a test of English, not of professional knowledge or clinical skills. Okay. So once you've got the language knowledge, you will find the answer on the page. So that's the intro. Let's do now some examples. So, what are some of the common ways you know of expressing opinion? And I would like you guys to now type into the chat. Okay. You could say, I think, or in my opinion. But what other ways do you know of where the language you use when you are expressing opinion? Now, again, there's a little lag in the audio, so I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds and let you write in. My point of view. So Minaka is off through the gate. Exactly. My point of view, or in my point of view. Yes. Any other? I'll wait for. I would recommend. That's more a suggestion than an opinion or an attitude, actually. I see a lot of you are going for I suggest, but suggest is when you are more giving it, or this might be a better choice. Whereas opinion is not so much what you want the other person. Opinion isn't what you want the other person to do. Opinion is your own personal idea of something. You're not giving anyone advice. Okay. I believe exactly. So Nico says, I believe. I, for one, my point is good. I feel that as per my thought, I assume, or one would assume. Exactly. These are more language to do with opinion and attitude. And here we have some. I feel, I believe, my concern or worry is, I am pleased that, and so on. Okay, good. So remember, opinion is not about fact. Well, an opinion is not a statement of fact. An opinion is not a suggestion that you're giving someone else or advice you're giving someone else. An opinion is your own point of view, your own thinking about someone. Okay. So my opinion or my point of view or is that OET webinars are very good in showing candidates the getting candidates on the right path. That's an opinion. That's how I feel. Others may disagree. Okay. A fact is many OET candidates attend OET webinars. That's a fact. What I will say to a student who says to me, oh, I don't know where to start with my OET, I would say, I suggest or I recommend that you watch OET webinars online. Okay? So remember that. A fact is there are OET webinars online. A suggestion or advice is if you are a candidate, I highly recommend that you really should watch OET webinars. An opinion is, I think, Alicia, think OET webinars are extremely helpful in getting candidates on the right track. Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, good. Moving on. So the common ones on the left in blue, you see, I think, in my opinion, I feel that, I believe. Those are ones that are obviously express an opinion. But here is the thing. There is other grammar. There is other sentence construction. There are other words that we use in English that also show maybe not just opinion, but attitude? In other words, do we feel good about something or do we feel negatively about something? Okay. So, for example, surely they could do XYZ. So, an example, they may be talking about a service that is available, maybe for screening. And the service is available, but it is not available in all parts of the community that needs it. And I say, surely they could extend those services even to the further parts of the community so more people could get it. So my attitude is, quite frankly, they're not doing enough. I haven't said they're not doing enough, but the word surely they could do XYZ is saying, I think they're not doing enough. Okay. Let's look at undoubtedly. Undoubtedly, this idea would. Okay. Undoubtedly, this idea would work better if we had more advertising. What I'm saying is, it's a good idea, but the advertising is not really good. Okay. So that shows my attitude. I haven't said, oh, the advertising is bad, but undoubtedly, this idea would work better if there was more advertising. It's the same thing. It's hard to believe that. That means I doubt. It's hard to believe is I doubt. So when someone says it's hard to believe, that means that they are skeptical. It's like, I really don't trust that. Okay. Or surprise. It's hard to believe that they don't know that they should do this. Okay. So it's hard to believe can be either doubt or it could be like, really? They don't know? Okay. Again, attitude expressed in different language. And yet, despite they continue, so, and yet, despite X, they continue to do Y. My attitude is, even though they know they're still doing the wrong thing, okay? Another way we can express attitude is using adjectives like unnecessary. In other words, we don't think it was needed. Doubtful, I mentioned that before. Um, I am bothered by something. I am bothered by the fact that coverage for this screening program is not better. It means I'm thinking you can do more. Okay. So you can see here that opinion is not just in I think or in my point of view or I feel or I believe, but it is also in the structure of the words, of the sentences, the adjectives, the adverbs also show opinion and attitude. Okay. Whoops, for some reason there is well, on my screen there is. Okay. So remember that in attitude and opinion, you look at more than just the vocabulary, but the combination of words and context. And by context, for opinions to not only be restated, um, but also be clear what the language is really focusing on. So when they put in all of this language, pay attention to what comes after it. That's also very, very important, huh? Because the language is going to be in the text, but for example, in the question, they may say, um, the speaker is doubtful that XYZ will happen. The speaker is critical of XYZ, or the speaker thinks that in future this will be of value. That could be how the options sound. But what the speaker actually says is this language here, surely they could, undoubtedly, and so on. Okay? So, enough talk. Let's try a little example. And here we're going to start by, again, focusing on keywords, as I mentioned before. Okay, so here's the question. What does Gary say about his training? And immediately we look at the options and we see words like enjoyed, appreciated. That's an opinion and attitude question. Okay, that's an opinion and attitude question. And then what does Gary say? Some people might go, oh, I'm listening to the exact words that Gary says. But actually, even though it says, what does Gary say? The words that Gary speaks are going to be different. So you've got to use those words and match them to here. Okay. So he enjoyed. What you start thinking, what kind of language might suggest that he enjoyed his training. Okay. Part B, he opted to follow a less intensive course. Opt means that he chose something else instead. So clearly, you know, his attitude was, that is not for me. Or C, he appreciated the support. So what language might opinion and attitude words? Also look at what is the focus of those words. Here he's enjoying not the training, but, well, yeah, getting work experience. Here what he's appreciating is not the experience, but the support of his tutors. So don't get so caught up in the opinion and attitude word that you actually forget to look at what is the target of the question. Okay. So remember back at the beginning, we said mind the details, pay attention to the details. These are the kind of details we're talking about. So with that in mind, instead of listening to the audio, we're going to read the text from the transcript. So I'm going to give you a few seconds. Again, I'm silent, just letting the feed pick up. So after you, oops, the words aren't visible on the screen. Oops, wait a minute. Can everyone see the words on the screen now? Let me refresh. Skip. Huh? Hello. Yes, okay, good, 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 good. I was a little, it's not clear. I am sorry, Mame. I'm sorry about that. Hold on. I don't know if I can make it. I'll read it out for you then. I'm sorry if the screen is not clear. We've got it here. Um, so for some people it's clear, for some people it's not so clear. It might have to do with the feed. Um, can I zoom in? That's a good question. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can. I'm not sure. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to see if I can zoom in. I'm going to stop sharing and zoom in a bit more. Okay? 1 second. Let me, oops, sorry. Mm, Escape. Good. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger for those who are having a bit of problem. If 1 second. Oops. Here we go. Give me 1 second. I shall be with you. Oops. Good. And it's okay if we bring this down a bit. All right. Okay. I can make it a little bigger. That I can do. I don't know if it will help, but let's try again, and I'll do the next page as well. Give me 1 second, guys. I am working on it for you. There we go. And then, oh, good. Great. So let's start. And I don't want you to see the answers as yet. Um, okay, we're going to screen share again. I made it a little bigger for you. Um, and we're just going to switch screens. There we have it. Okay. All right. So I see some of you have already put in your answers. Some of you are saying that it isn't clear. I hope this helps. If it's on your phone, it might not be so clear. And everyone is going for B. Ooh, everyone's going for B. Mhm. I'm gonna wait for the feed to catch up. Sorry about this. I'm sitting in Taiwan, um, so it's bouncing all over the place and traveling long distance to reach you. Okay. All right. So Pravin says, so far almost everyone is saying B. So what I would like some people to do in the pause is tell me exactly why you chose B. It's cyclical, so it may have to do with the connection. All right, we'll rally on. Okay, don't worry. I'll give you another minute or so, and then we will tackle the answers. Okay, so Roma says, because they're talking about the course, you said the words he chose. Rebecca said he chose, um, which is, of course, rephrasing for opt to. Chose and opt to mean the same thing. Okay. He chose course so that he could have a life means he chose a less extensive course. Correct. So inference. Okay. Contrast word, but chose. Okay. So you guys seem to be, so I could have a life, Ruth typed in exactly. All right. So, but that also shows his attitude. All right. I could have done a 2 year. I could have, but, and some person mentioned the word but. Zena mentioned the word but. I could have, but it means like he's going away from it. So that I could still have a life. The 2-year master's program was full on. Now, full on is kind of colloquial, but full on means intensive. It's like bam, 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 full time. Okay. So, yeah, the answer is B. All right. Let's look at the time. Okay, we're at that halfway point where I usually round up the presentation, but there's one more text here. Sorry, guys, we don't have time to make it bigger. So those of you who can see this next quiz about attitude, I hope you can see it. Yeah, some people are noting that the clarity is going in and out, so I think it might have to do with the actual internet feed. Unfortunately, can't do much about that. However, what you can do is afterwards, remember that this video is still going to be up. So you can go on and watch the video again, okay? And then put it up a little bit bigger. All right. Right. So here we have now the second quiz. What attitude was prevalent? So this comes right out and asks you about attitude. What attitude was prevalent amongst the Ebola patients Dr. Monroe encountered? There's quite a bit of delay here, I notice. That's very odd. Um, it's quite a few seconds delay. Sorry about that, guys, but it's the internet provider. Okay. What attitude was prevalent? Is it a mistrust, an unwillingness, or a belief? Again, here we see that those are strong attitude words. What attitude was prevalent? A mistrust of medical intervention. So we look at the attitude word as well as what it is focused on. An unwillingness to come to terms with the disease. So what words might suggest unwilling? Another word for unwilling, reluctant, don't want to in coming to terms with the disease, or a belief that treatment was best administered within the family, a belief, which is like a soul deep mindset, was best within the family. So here's the text. Again, it might be a little small for those of you watching on phone. I apologize for that, but it's unavoidable. But what I can do is I can read out the text. So the interviewer ask, and how did the patients you were treating respond to your presence? And the speaker says, to give you some idea of what we were dealing with, the first 2 patients I treated were brother and sister. Both had developed Ebola symptoms, which often presents like flu with fever and pain. And straight away, they fled to the bush because they were fearful of what might happen to them if they were treated. They were found quite quickly because they were too weak to run. But even with treatment, both later died. Indeed, such was the fatality rate that 9 out of 10 people who encountered our treatment facility were never seen again by their family members. So you can see what those attitudes were based on. So what do you think is the answer? What attitude was prevalent amongst the Ebola patients? Mistrust of medical intervention, unwillingness to come to terms with the disease, Ebola, or belief that treatment was best administered within the family. Write in your answers. So Roma is again quick off the feed. Some of you, the feed seems to be coming in a bit faster than others. Oh, look at that. We've got a B, a C, and an A. Okay. Type in why you chose the answer you chose. Very quickly, why did you choose the answer? We've actually got a good spread. We've got A, B, and C here. So type in, why did you pick your answer? I'll give a few seconds. Although I'm seeing now more A's emerging. Yeah, more A's are emerging. Okay. All right. Let's move things along because we want a chance for chatting. We have, again, some B's. And the answer is a mistrust of medical intervention. And why? Because they were fearful of what might happen if they were treated. To be fearful is like, okay, you're kind of like doubting, you don't have any confidence in, you mistrust. If I get that treatment, suppose something terrible happens, something terrible most likely will happen. So it's a mistrust. It wasn't an unwillingness to come to terms with the disease because there is no mention at all about them doubting that they have Ebola. Okay, it says that it presents like flu, but they did not mention anything about doubting that they had Ebola or how severe the illness is. Okay, a belief that treatment was best administered within the family. I could see why you might think C is the answer because it says here so you can see what those attitudes were based on. It did mention family members, so you see family here and family here. But what they're fearful of, up here it says they fled because they were fearful of what might happen if they were treated. Okay, if they were treated, which is different from treatment was best within the family. You see? So again, be careful of the details. All right. So those are two good examples of one, restating of language, as well as two, indirect language that shows opinion and attitude. So I beg of you, for those of you who are not so strong in this area, you need to work with your tutors and come up with some exercise practice on the language of opinion and attitude so you are more aware of it, and you don't fall into, that trap of either not having the vocabulary or of perhaps maybe misinterpreting, not understanding what the language means. All right. So that's it. Be sure you understand. Actually, I should have done this the other way around. So identifying opinion and attitude again is not only about vocabulary, but context. And you should be prepared for restating and rephrasing. So even in that 30-second time, you should be thinking about how else information might be stated. Once you find and focus on that opinion and attitude word, be sure to read carefully the rest of the option and how it compares to the actual text. What is the focus of that attitude word? Okay, so don't just zoom in, look at the whole thing. And sometimes you have to, yes, read between the lines. So once again, I just want to remind you about this free ebook because what I'm talking about today actually is one of the pitfalls and exercises that's in the ebook. You can either scan that QR code or you can go up to our website and grab it. And this ebook is actually one of a series. It covers all of the four OET um, subtests, and right now there are a $1.99 US each. Honestly, yes, there are no catches. That is the price. You can go and get it right now. The price is going to change in the new year, but right now, and all of them are also very, very short. They're like, I think the longest ebook is maybe 30 pages, maybe. And I think that's writing because writing has in a lot of sample language. Okay. So for further access to courses that are affordable, thorough, because you want to make sure that your course is giving you all the tips, not just some. Using authentic OET materials. This is very, very important, guys, because you want to be sure that the materials you are working and practicing with actually do test the right skills. Okay. So that's why we work with authentic OET materials and also getting live group tutoring and in-course messaging, which is a free feature of all of our courses. Once you're in the course, you can, um, message to ask the tutor a question. It doesn't matter. Or in most of our courses, in like 95% of our courses, you can actually just come in and join live group class. It's not a extra cost. You just click the Zoom link in your course and whoop, you're in. Okay. So you can scan either one of these to find access to all our courses, and that's it. So I hope that was helpful. So at this point in time, I'm going to stop the screen share. For those of you who want to, of course, you can go back and watch the video again, try out the exercises. Sorry. And check out the resources that we have told you we have available, um, that are available for all price ranges. Okay. So on that note now, I am going to open up the floor and I am going to ask you to ask me whatever questions you have. Let's start with the listening part C, since that is today's topic, and then we can go from there. So, Roma, I saw something from Roma. Roma is asking a big general question, how to improve in part C. Roma, here's how to improve. One, find out what language skills you need. As you saw from the presentation, you need to be able to keep up with the audio. You need to be able to signpost, pick up signpost language. That is language that tells you the answer is coming up. You need to be able to recognize when things are being rephrased. Okay? You need to be able to listen for an hour or at least 45 minutes without getting distracted and losing where you are. We call it listening stamina. Okay? And yeah, you need to understand those language functions, opinion and attitude, which we did today, action and consequence, which I'm sure some other webinar will cover because we cover everything. What else? Inference, gist. There are a whole bunch of them. And Roma, unfortunately, there is no one tip that is going to solve OET Part C for you. OET is definitely the sum of all of these mini skills together. So a tip for you in how to improve in listening Part C Roma is this. Find out the skills you need. Spend some time practicing each of those skills and then pull them all together, practicing an OET paper. Okay? If you're building a house and you want it to stand, you don't just focus on the electricity or on the plumbing. You focus on everything. Okay, so you make sure the bricks are solid, that the cement is good, that the foundation is good, that the roof doesn't leak, that the windows are good, and that no one can break through the door. OET is a house. A house where every single part has got to be good and well made. And then you will do well in the OET because then your OET house will be strong. Okay, good. So let's move on. Last 6 months, OET reading fail rate very high. OET reading can be very, very challenging. I can tell you now. The biggest problems are reading part A and reading part C. Reading part A because it requires speed. And the reading part C is because of vocabulary, vocabulary, vocabulary. I can tell you, I can almost tell within 2 classes a student who does not read a lot. You want to know how to improve your vocabulary. I will tell you, read. Many students ask me, oh, can I have a vocabulary list for OET? I will tell you this. I could give you a vocabulary list and it still won't be enough because there is really no list for OET reading vocabulary, for OET reading C. It's called the English Dictionary, okay? But if you are accustomed to reading, you read every day, and I don't mean hours on end. Who needs that? 5 minutes a day, every day, but you're reading every day and you're reading different kinds of things. You will find that your vocabulary starts increasing and you will not even be actively working to do it. Reading is fantastic. I know in this day and age, people don't want to hear that. They want to hear about audiobooks or well, oh, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. Read. If there's one piece of advice that you take away from this webinar, it is this. Read. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, read. Especially for English, it will change your OET prospects forever. Okay? Ma'am, are there any particular thing one slot exam will be easy, another might be challenged? No. If you're asking if okay, some sittings are easy and some are hard, no, it is completely random. Yes, sometimes the tests are a little bit more challenging. I mean, I'm a teacher, and sometimes I go, oh, this was a toughie. Okay. However, there's no time of the year or time of the month. No. Just like it is also the same for other exams. Okay. What to do if the options are similar in C? So Archibald goes, Maureen goes, if the options are similar in C, Maureen, guess what? There's always um, two that are very similar. It's not an accident. There are always two that are very similar. It comes down to what I said before. Don't just read the focus word or the focus verb. Read what it is pointing to. Because the biggest mistake I see students make in reading and listening part C is that they pay attention to the first part of the option and not to the second part of the sentence in the option. They'll go like, he was excited. This is the answer. He was excited about the end of his exam. But actually, he was excited about the job offer that he got after the exam. So you zoomed in on the excited, but you didn't look at exactly what they were excited about. That is the single biggest error almost all of my students, all of our students in live group class as well as private class. Yeah, even in our unique courses, I have to tell you, the students do the same thing. And they're sitting in a university class. They do the same thing. All right, pay attention. How can I improve my speed and accuracy for reading B and C? Saili, excellent question because this is um, also another thing that trips people up because people, what can I say? One, sometimes it's vocabulary, they're not understanding. Two, I personally honestly think that sometimes it is because there's this sudden shift from the kind of questions in reading part A to the kind of questions in reading part B, and the mind is taking a while to shift. I think that that's one of the reasons that many of our students find the reading part B slows them down. But what I will say is a nice little exercise that actually has nothing to do with OET and everything to do with reading skills is this. Work with your tutor. It's best if you do it with a tutor because a tutor can guide you. Yeah? But work with your tutor and have them do this exercise. Give you a text, give you some examples of reworded information and time you to match one to the other. Okay, A is here, B is there, C is there. And each time they time you, have it be less and less time. Less and less time. It's a little exercise I do with my students, and I find it helps them to focus more quickly. And once they're focusing more quickly, they tend to, you can see the seconds being chiseled off of each question. So that's just one exercise. There's lots of things that come into reading, of course. There's vocabulary, there's reading comprehension, but as a single little exercise, you should try that. Okay. As a beginner, which part should I practice first, Ali? That is a lovely question, Ali. Which part, what do you mean? Do you mean which subtest or which part of which listening test? If you mean which subtest to start with, here's a little hint. Go onto the OET website, download a free listening, a free reading, a free writing, and a role play. Especially for listening and reading, because writing and speaking, you definitely need a tutor's feedback. But for listening and reading, do it under time. Check your answers. Wherever, not only overall, but for each part. What is your score for part A? What is your score for part B? What is your score for part C? Wherever you get the worst marks, Ali, that's where you start. Okay? Is it good to start with W questions in the reading part A? I must admit, I've never come across that question before, Preeti. Huh. Is it good to start with W questions? The answer is honestly, I don't know because I've never tried that technique before. I do know some students prefer to actually start with the second and third part questions in reading part A and then go back to the ABCD questions in the first section. Some people prefer to just follow the flow. And I do know that some people like to zoom in on particular questions like quantity questions. I have had students go, oh, I go for the quantity questions first because I can recognize numbers immediately. I honestly think it depends on how your brain works and your study style. Okay. For people who have a more general to specific, you follow the flow. From some people whose brain goes more from specific to general, you go from the detailed questions up to the ABCD questions. Some people recognize numbers more, so they go in. If your brain Honestly, Preeti, if your brain recognizes W questions more, go for it. But I will say this, try it and see if it actually works. Do not take the opinion of somebody else about it because their brain may work differently from yours. So try it. Try different techniques and find the approach that works best for you and work with that technique. Okay? Um, Please recommend a good podcast for listening. That is a very good question. Send us an email. Okay? Um, we do have an entire series, a systematic series for OET listening. It goes through A step by step, B step by step, C step by step with examples. It's based on the OET coach, but with a lot more practice and a lot more points in it. However, those videos are part of a course or items themselves. Check out our shop. I displayed the shop. Um, Hold on. Check out our shop and put in um, listening made easy. I know this sounds horrible because I can't remember what the product is called, but never mind. Um, Hold on. I'm gonna find it quickly. Oops. Yeah, it's called OET Made Easy. Okay. Um, and it is at this link here. Um, Try those. It's not a podcast, but um, I think it is exactly what you're talking about with lots of examples. With lots of examples. All right, I'm just going to put it. Ah, there it is. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Good. I just put it in the chat. Let's go down. Um, uh, In reading part C, which is the best technique? Question, then read answer. And getting back to the text or vice versa. Moranja, that is, or Emma. Emma, that is actually also a very good question, and it is similar to the answer that I gave Maureen. It depends on, honestly, how your brain works. There's some of you who, oops, email. Hold on. Pro Medical English. Yep. .com. There, I've put the email our email address in the chat. Getting back to Emma's question, which is very important. Um, let's take my brain, for example, if I'm reading anything new. I like to just scan the first line of, or a few lines in the section of anything. Okay. So even if I'm reading a novel, honestly, I will scan the summary of the novel. I may not even read the whole novel. I will scan and read like the first line of each paragraph of like the first 5 paragraphs. And then I commit to the book because I like to know what I'm getting into. For OET practice tests, when I come across new ones, I do the same thing. Because when I do that, my brain has an idea of where it's going so that when I see the detailed question, my brain is that much faster, that much faster. So for me, I will scan the questions, go to the text. The text will then also connect with those questions in my brain, with that language in my brain. And then I go back to the text. So I am a pick from the text, go to the question, and then go back to the text person. However, there are people who prefer the questions first because their brain likes to know what they're looking for. Maybe they're comfortable with the language, they're comfortable with restating. So when they read an option, they can go, oh, that will sound like X, Y, Z, Q, R, S, and T, and they go to the text. Read the text and then go back to the question just to confirm. Okay. So it depends on where the strength point, the strong point in your reading skills. It really does. But again, I will tell you the same thing I told Maureen. Try both techniques. Check which one gets you the highest mark and which one gets you to do the correct answer more quickly. And whichever works for you, that's how your brain works. Go for that. Okay, good. All right. Oh, we're 4 minutes over time, so I will take one. Sorry, I will take one more question. And that's it. Would you recommend sites for reading in general that one can read on a daily basis? Stephen, you are playing my tune. One, yes, I can. And two, if you are in any of our reading courses, there is a library there exactly for that. Okay, it has the links. You can go to the links. This is a library that will help not only to increase your vocabulary, but it has in honestly the kinds of texts that you might um, come across in OET, as well as some other general kinds of health texts or general text. Okay, so yeah, we do. And we have helpful tips on how to use them to improve your vocabulary. Okay, so yeah. So again, check out our shop, check out our courses. You can go on our OET course page, or you can go into I shouldn't say shop, that sounds, our course center is called. Go into our course center, put in reading. You will see all our reading products there, every last one. And from there, you can pick out a reading product that has in the library, and there you'll have it. Okay. Alrighty, so that's it, everyone. Does solving more OET samples help to improve your reading, Maureen? Maureen, you have a way of asking questions that just touch my teaching soul. And the answer is not as much as you think. You have to do OET reading practice papers. You absolutely have to. You have to. Let me stress that. However, the mistake that many students make that we correct when they're with us is they only do practice papers. Completely, totally. Believe me when I say this. Do practice papers, but balance it with reading widely. I go so far for my students who do not like to read. I go, what do you like to read? Blogs about hobbies, graphic novels, romance novels, spy novels, a television program with the English subtitles on, so you read the subtitles, as long as it gets you reading. As long as it gets you reading. Okay? There has to be balance. If you're doing OET, but only doing practice tests, it will, and your language needs improving, it's going to be a challenge. Okay. All right. Is there any shortcut or easy way to clear reading part? See, Ali, I just actually answered that for either Preeti or Ali or someone before. I'm not going to repeat it because time is running out, but just rewind the video to about, I don't know, 10 minutes back, and you're going to see the answer, or 12 minutes back. Okay. All right. How can you access the library? Maureen, send us an email. Let me put in the our email address again. Send us an email. I always get my vowels backwards when I type. Yeah, that's it. Maureen, there is the email. Send us an email and we'll point you in the right direction. Okay. All right, guys. So that's it for today. I hope it was helpful to you. For those of you doing OET this coming weekend or before Christmas, this is me sending out positive vibes. I'm wishing you all the best of luck. If anyone there has a question about us or our courses, you can go to our website, promedicalenglish.com, or you can send us an email. You can go on our contact page. Oh, yes, Maureen, you can also just go onto our website on the contact page. Um, and if you put in a message on the contact page and you send, it reaches us. Okay. Right. When should we book the last question? Because Garima just asked a lovely question. When should we book exam according to your opinion? When you are ready, when you have done a mock test or sample papers that show that you are getting at least a 350-ish. That's when you should do OET. And please, people, stop doing OET when you are not ready yet because you are throwing money away. And I don't know about you, but I hate wasting money. I hate it. I hate it. Okay. All right. So that's it for today, guys. Bye bye. Best of luck. Stay healthy, and we'll see each other in the new year. Bye bye.